Hi there, this is John Drew here from Elevated Planet, and today I am here with my friend, Mr. Chris Stiles, who is a human futurist. And he runs his business, which is all about the human futurology side of things. Hi, Chris, how are you doing?
Hello, John. Lovely to see you again and really looking forward to this chat. Thank you. John, I would encourage everyone to begin to think about the fact that we are living and existing in a world which is influenced by something so much bigger. Open your mind to the fact that we are just merely a speck within something so much bigger. And what is happening here on Earth is being influenced by much greater energetic forces, which, if you will, are of cosmic or universal design. That basically means that there is nothing that is right and that there is nothing that is wrong. It just is. It is something unpacking itself according to moments where the energy is either beneficial to joy or it's creating chaos. But either way, it is just this incredibly intelligent architecture that is working with and through numbers and sequences and patterns, and therefore impacting down here on Earth. And what this shift does is it allows you to begin to think far more strategically about things, about your life, about the architecture of your life. And if you begin to think of everything that's happening here on Earth as being driven by a cosmic river that we have no control over, that is constantly shifting and changing energetically. And the way we know this is through being able to quantify and qualify it through numbers and mathematics. Then you realize, well, fighting the river and what the river is delivering, I'm actually being really stupid. Because if I end up in a river and I fight the river, what happens is I become exhausted, and when I become exhausted, I drown and I die. Whereas when you begin to embrace the river, and when you flow with the river, and when you work with the river, you harness the power of the river. And I believe that this is what needs to be happening here on Earth, is we need to start to elevate our consciousness away from this microcosm of fear, and this one is wrong, and that one is wrong, and there's an agenda, and here's an agenda, and this and this, and actually begin to think about the fact that there is something so much bigger. And instead of being preoccupied with all these minuscule little insignificant scraps that are taking place here on Earth, we need to open our mind as to what is so much bigger than us, and then begin to think, how can we align, work with, and use and partner with that which is so much bigger? Because that is energy, and we are energy, John. I am
Yeah.
energy, you are energy, everything around us is energy. So let's stop thinking in the human flesh dimension, and let's begin to think in terms of the overarching energy dimension. That will create the greatest shift in consciousness that we can engage in right now.
Wow. Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. And I think you put it really, really well. It is flowing. Yeah, you flow with the divine flow of the universe, right? There's no point in paddling upstream. You're not going to get anywhere. The fact is that everything is downstream. Everything we want is downstream. So you can just flow with the flow. You can paddle downstream, but you don't even need to do that. Just keep your canoe in a straight line. And
And
you,
John, this brings us back to the importance of owning your mental sovereignty. Because
yes,
the thing is, right now, billions of people on Earth are thinking in terms of the microcosm of the scuffles that are taking place between people, between nations, between regions, or whatever. And that is what is being fed to us all day, every day through the mainstream media. And that doesn't make the mainstream media right or wrong. It just makes the mainstream media fundamentally ignorant.
Yeah.
When you look at the mainstream media as being fundamentally ignorant of what the big picture is, and by the big picture, I mean the cosmic picture, then you can look at it and you can read about all this stuff with interest and intrigue, but you don't have to absorb it. It doesn't have to
No.
become part of your neurology.
No.
And you can understand things for what they are, but you can sink down into this, you can absorb it, you can process it, you can think about it, because you're operating on a much higher level, you can rise above it and return to the river of consciousness, the river of numbers, the river of architecture that is unstoppable. And you can begin to think, how can I operate intelligently within that? And by doing that, you are constantly above, if you will, this minutia,
Mm.
which is designed to, ignorantly so, but designed to create chaos, distress, depression, and all those negative things
Mm.
within us.
Yeah.
And it's really that simple. The more you look after the mind, the more you rise above the chaos, the more your body will follow your mind, because your body is an instrument of the mind.
Yes. Yes, that's right. Again, I'm so with you on that. It's just a case of now is the time to be discerning. And now is the time to take a step back and understand the truth, your truth. Because one of the things that we're always taught from day one is that we have to look outside of ourselves for wisdom, right? The fact is that independently, we are all this miraculous being. I mean, we don't appreciate they've got 50 trillion cells of miracles just operating here for me to make Team John Drew and for you to make Team Chris Styles, right? That is in itself a miracle. We're not in charge of that. I don't have to remind myself to keep my heart beating and breathing and blood flowing and my kidneys working and all this kind of thing. No, but I love the fact that I have this opportunity to live this life, to be this John Drew entity, to drive this particular vehicle through life. And it's a fantastic time to be here, because this is a time of change and it's an exciting time. You can choose to look at it through the eyes of excitement and wonder, or you can choose to take in the narrative and feel fearful and divided against and individual, like you're an individual that, yeah, we're here for an individuated experience, but actually we're all one. That's where we come from. Single consciousness. That's
And
what we're
the
going to learn.
interesting thing, John, is when you say we're all one, isn't it amazing how we are all one when we have to experience everything according to the greater cosmic architecture? Because whatever is up there, whatever needs to happen up there with and through Earth, basically, just we're part of it. So
Mm.
therefore, we are all one.
Yes.
So if it's positivity up there, it's positivity down here. If it's chaos up there, it's chaos down here. Therefore, we are all one. Therefore, we are all experiencing the same thing, because we are just a tiny part of something that is so much bigger than us.
Yeah.
And I think that is probably the greatest joy that has emerged out of all the work and the research that I've done. Realizing that we are this mathematical entity, that I can reveal this in part through intelligent mathematical blueprints. When you begin to understand that, you actually begin a process whereby you elevate yourself from this grounded density of Earth into a far more ethereal, light realm of intelligence, wisdom, and understanding. And that's just how it is. It doesn't make anything right. It doesn't make anything wrong.
Mm.
I just think that, sadly, because billions of people are living a life right now of fundamental ignorance around literally everything, the greatest thing that could happen is that we experience quantum shifts down here on Earth, which allow this number two energy of cooperation, collaboration, peace, harmony, working together, equilibrium to come in. And if this energy entering requires the decade of the 2020s to be complete and utter chaos, then let it be.
Right.
Then let it be so, because it will render a wonderful result or the perfect outcome as we move into 2030 and the 2030s, which are again a much more joyful decade of creativity, self-expression, communication, and then everything works and changes and turns. But everything is most definitely not all doom and gloom, not by a long shot.
No, absolutely. I'm excited about the future. I know it could be chaotic, but that is part and parcel of where we go. And that's fine, because if that's what we need to go through to get to the ultimate goal, then so be it, but you just view it through the lens of the wisdom and the knowledge, if you like, of what is actually happening and who we are individually. And I say, as we begin this journey at Elevated Planet of, understanding the nature of consciousness and the human experience, come and join us, because Chris, you're going to be part of this journey with us, I know, because we're going to work closely with you and Suzanne and what you do, because I love it. I know that the numerical sequences explain everything. I've heard it from not just you, but from so many quarters that I have total respect for. So I love what you do. I love how you guide us. I think one other thing as well, I think that one of the things I noticed about 2024, the solar flares, and this again is just a scientific fact, the solar flares and the solar activity, the geomagnetic influences out there are going to peak during 2024, end of 2023 and in 2024. And that has an impact on the world from a point of view of the impact that has on, volcanic activity, earthquake activity, tsunamis, weather patterns and things like that. Because I do think that's going to be part of the chaos as well. And that's just something, again, you've only got to go to spaceweather.com and see what the scientists tell you about that. And that is a fact. But we're already seeing it starting to play out, with the first one going off, like the earthquake in Japan. And there'll be plenty more to follow. But again, we just have to take into account the fact that, yeah, people will struggle with this or suffer from this. But again, this is all part of the grand organized design to get us where we need to go. Chaos is going to be more than just political and war. I think it could also be natural disasters as well.
Quite right, John. And the thing is, when through the lens of cosmic architecture, you look at the 2020s and you realize that these are going to be years, a decade of chaos.
Mm.
As you say, natural events, also going into this year, given how the world is governed and driven through technology, you probably expect major cyber attacks that take place, one country on another. And again, why? Why is there all this chaos, John? It is because it is that number one energy. For example, if China launches a massive cyber attack on the UK, let's just rise above that. What is behind that? I am bigger than you. I am better than you. I am more powerful than you. I can control you. And what is all of that stuff? Bigger, better, more powerful. It's all number one energy. The energy that is done, the energy that's in its death throes, that is fighting for its existence as a residual throwover from the 1900s. So when we see these things, John, there's no need for us to go into a state of panic, because this is the old energy fighting to stay alive, but it's done, it's dusted. The clock is ticking, and it will not last.
No.
And so as we go into this decade, because I actually believe that things are going to get a lot worse before they get a lot better. So predictions for 2024, chaos. Going into 2025, chaos. Going into 26, 27, 28. I think what we saw in 2020 is the tip of the iceberg in terms of the chaos that we're going to experience leading into 2030. However, where it will begin to turn is as we move towards 2028, 2029, and 2030. That is when it will really shift, and especially in 2030. So the latter half of 2029 and 2030, that's when things will shift, guaranteed. So if we open the news or switch on the television and suddenly there's been this attack of one country on another or whatever, it's not okay in terms of what it is doing humanity, people on people, families on families, etc. It's not okay on that level. Of course it's not okay. But it is absolutely okay in terms of the greater cosmic architecture, because this is how we know, through this chaos, through the stress, through the panic, through the fear, we know that the number one energy is in its death throes, and very soon it will be gone, and the number two energy will replace it, and then we will be living in a much, much better, healthier environment. And John, that's basically it. I think, in terms of the discussion that you and I have had, and in terms of the knowledge that I've assimilated since we last spoke, this really is the core essence of the message that I'm wanting to get out there, is that it's actually okay.
Yeah.
It's okay. Look at it in terms of its context within the bigger cosmic architecture. And you realize that even although on the space of things it's getting a lot worse, actually it's getting a lot better very soon.
Yeah, with you 100%. Chaos is a prerequisite for change, and the reason it has to happen is because we're going to a better place. And just be mindful of that. Regardless of how the external world presents itself, we're heading in the right direction. Chris, thank you. Thank you for once again sharing your wisdom, and we look forward to more of the same as we head out on this journey with Elevated Planet to explore the nature of consciousness and the nature of humanity. Why are we here? It's just like, I love this stuff. It's fascinating, and I hope other people find it fascinating too. And from a mainstream perspective, as I was in like 5.5 years ago, I could not have foreseen this. I had no idea. I was in total ignorance of it. And many people still are. And that's not wrong. There's nothing wrong with that. Everybody is on their own journey, but there are fantastic opportunities coming up to reassimilate and rework what this is really about, and to love the journey. That's important. So thank you again, Chris. And thank you also to Suzanne. I know that you two make a great team over there. And as I said before, anybody who wants to explore the human futurology angle with our human futurist, Chris Stiles and Suzanne, the details we'll put in the description, etc. You can reach them directly, but you can also reach them through John Drew at elevatedplanet.life, and happy to engage with any of your thoughts or questions. Thank you again, Chris. Much appreciated. And thank you to our Elevated Planet community for tuning in. And we look forward to bringing you more information sometime very soon.